It ends up, because it's gacha, it's one of those ones where you collect your waifus or husbandos PNG images by spending lots of money that you shouldn't do, but you do it anyway, because you need your husbands and your waifus and your sons and your daughterus, and oh god, it's a black hole that unfortunately my fiance got me to hop on the bandwagon with, and I've been ruined for years. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Box, the Annie chat box, where 5 friends, or sometimes 2, like today, snuggle up in a teeny tiny space to talk about all things anime. My name is Cammie, and contrary to popular belief, I am not dead. I did not fall off a cliff. I've just been gone for quite a few weeks. But now I am back to host you for episode 134. And I am not alone. I am also joined by the one and only Jonathan Joestar.
Hello, I'm doing good. I have more of my voice back again this week. Hopefully it lasts after moldy stuff happened at work that got into the back of my throat.
So catch me up a little bit too. Did you have your voice when you recorded the Yaiba episode? Or were you struggling? Did you come in and do your best?
I think I could barely talk during the Yaiba episode, and I had some of my voice, but it was definitely, I didn't sound as I usually did.
Did you accompany yourself with tea like you are tonight?
I had lots of tea during that recording.
That's good. That's one of the best things for a sore throat.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're in, something that I know I hate about having sore throats that happens to me is, sometimes I'm oh, I want something hot. And then I'm no, I want something cold. No, I want something hot. I want something cold. My throat just can't decide what's going to feel better for it.
Yeah, it is frustrating when you get like that.
Yeah. But lucky for you today, I'm going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting, doing lots of reading, and that way hopefully you can sip on tea during those breaks. Before we get started, I do want to let you all know that Cassie is a part of our seasonal splash tank, which we're going to be doing today, covering the current new season of stuff, doing impressions, sinking, and swimming. But she also is sick right now. She is very sick, so I said, hey, please feel better. We want her to feel better. So I'm going to be doing my best to give a reading delivery of her impressions that she wrote up, oh so succinctly and well written, if I do say so myself. But alongside that, before we get to actual impressions, we have a lot of announcements for you all. Everybody's favorite thing, time for PR and technical announcements. Get excited, kids. So bear with me as I go through these. I want you all to know that next week will be our last double up and last commitment to previously past seasonal shows. If I can be completely honest and transparent for a moment, seasonal burnout is real, people. I think it's something that a lot of us over here at the pod have been experiencing as we try to desperately catch up to seasonal anime that we will be reviewing as we go through our impressions and as we see what's coming out. Honestly, I think sometimes there's just one isekai too many, and when you've seen the one that finally cracks you, you get a little tired of it. And on that note, there were about 4 this season.
Yeah.
Just a fun fact, if there was any season with one isekai too many to ruin them all, it would probably be this one. So to follow up on that, we are going to be changing our format a bit starting in February of 2020. We'll be doing a new schedule which follows a host choice format where we get to choose individually, as you've seen in our host choice episodes, an anime from any time, any subject that we personally want to review and discuss on the pod. So there will be 2 host choices a month, then we'll have a week off, and then a Shoujo Treehouse episode. This is going to be for regular months. there will be some non-regular months, which will include our specials that you've been used to, including our seasonal picks and check-ins, Patreon requests, and so on and so forth. The week off that we'll be taking each month next year is going to help us keep things going, reduce our burnout, and give us a chance to follow up on Patreon requests that we've unfortunately been a little bit slacking on. Paul, I am so sorry. Your full wrap cover is coming soon, and I really appreciate the amazing patience that you have. You are great. Thank you so much. Also, at the end of the year, our good friend John is going to transition over to being a guest host instead of a regular host on our show. Beforehand, he is going to have 3 host choices to round out the year, and of course, join us for our end of the year specials. Mm-hmm. And you do realize that when you move to guest host status, I'm pulling you on all of the fate bullshit that ever gets passed and picked, because we need you here for that. You can't escape.
I am more than willing to be here for any and every form of fate that comes up, because I love the franchise so much.
Perfection. We need you for Resident Fate, and I also think that we need you on our Resident Mech shows as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Probably definitely going to show up for any and every form of mech show that shows up.
Yes. And not to spoil anything, I will say I'm really excited for the 3 picks that you chose for your host choices. They're all very varied. That sounded dumb. They're a variety, and some of them I've just I'm like, ooh, this is new. I've heard of this. And then another one, your third one, is actually one that I've been wanting to watch for a really long time because I love the creators behind it. Mm-hmm. But I can't get into spoilers. But thank you for that chance. I am so excited for us to get to those.
The first one, I'm not going to say what it is. I'm not sure how was actually going to be a host choice. Was actually going to be my first host choice. But then I wussed out because
I remember that. I totally remember that.
Because I don't know how well it's going to sit with everyone. But I decided, you know what? Screw it. Let's go for it. Let's see what people actually think of this series.
Just do it. No, that's a great attitude to have. And then your other 2, were those kind of random or?
I was humming and hawing for a while. And then I was like, you know what? Let's go for these 2 as well. Admittedly, the second one I also have not actually watched yet, but was super excited about. So,
yeah, that one I was like, ooh, okay, big excitement.
Yeah.
So everybody should be looking forward to those in the few coming months. They are going to be awesome, and we definitely hope that you'll enjoy a bit of our new format, or just give us any feedback. If it's something that you have opinions on, obviously, please send us any emails to anniechatmail@gmail.com as we move forward, because while we are making some changes for our own quality of life, what really comes down to it is also your opinions as listeners and making sure we can deliver content that is satisfactory to you. So feel free to keep us in the know as you listen further. All right. As far as this affects our seasonal splash tanks, we're obviously still doing them, as we are doing this one today, but it's going to be in the vein of sinking and swimming properties, not to immediately be tacked on to a list up for review, as we have done in the past. Instead, you can consider sink or swim our marks on if we think this is a show that is worth checking out, or a show that you can pass on. And that also gives us more freedom to just kind of throw our personal opinions in there, I think, because a lot of times we've been in the back half and said, oh, maybe I like this, but I don't know if everyone else will want to review it. Now we can just totally say, hey, I'm telling y'all, because I have no weight bearing on the choices you make, to check this out or to not watch it. So that should be pretty exciting. So yeah, think about it as recommendations. And to get us started, we're going to go into our picks. The order is going to be round robin, as we always do. It's going to be me talking about a show, and then John, and then Cassie by proxy of me narrating. I hope I can do her writing justice. And if you get tired of my voice, well, too late. This is just kind of what you got to deal with. So, so thanks for bearing with us here. All right. So the first show that I'm going to talk about is my number 1 pick from this season, and that is Chihayafuru Season 3. I will go ahead and read a mal synopsis because they actually did one for a continuing series, which they don't always do. So let's see how this one is. Winning the high school team tournament was a great accomplishment for the Mizusawa Karuta team members. Each of them has made great strides in improving themselves, and the victory symbolizes how far they've come. But after accomplishing one goal, their individual aims are within reach. Chihaya Ayase has her sights set on Wakamiya Shinobu and the title of Queen, and now that Taichi Mashima has made it into Class A, he can finally compete against Arata Watseya. Everyone in Mizusawa wants to get better, and there's no telling what the future holds if they keep trying. So yeah, Chihayafuru is a kind of combination sports and josei series that deals with competitive karuta, which is a card-playing game, a card-playing and like memorization game in Japan. And taking place right where the story left off in the second season, Chihayafuru returns with the same heart, production value, and endearing characters as it always has. The characters being introduced in new matches seem interesting as ever, particularly a previous queen, again, a queen is a top female card player in the country, who has returned after about 2 seasons due to maternity leave. It's very interesting to see her because she is a high-ranked player. She is also an older woman. She's a mother, as compared to a lot of the high schoolers that we see playing. One of my favorite things I think about karuta as a sport, and what I love about Chihayafuru as a sports anime, is it very much goes out of the mold of typical, oh man, like all one gender high school playing team. Karuta can be played by teams, and it can be done in ages, like there are high school teams, but there are also individual matches that can just be people battling of any age, and also it's, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's all genders playing against each other. There's no specific like men's karuta, women's karuta. Outside of the meijin, the master, or the queen positions, those obviously are gendered, but there are times basically where you will have you'll have female characters fighting against male characters, for example, which is pretty cool. And teams that are made up of both female and male characters. And I really like that sort of dynamic and the potential it leads to for character interactions. If you're a fan of Chihayafuru, you're likely watching this new season, and if you aren't, now is as good a time as ever to start the show. Season 3 is currently airing. Season 2 and Season 1 are both available on Crunchyroll. Cassie herself has been watching Season 1, and I've loved getting her play-by-play reactions on Twitter as she watches it. I think she's enjoying it. You could check her Twitter yourself and see. But this is a show, honestly, that I recommend to anybody and everybody. And quite obviously, it swims. Please watch Chihayafuru. But don't start at Season 3. Like, please watch it from the beginning. You do have to do that.
Yeah, if you do start picking it up, start from the start.
Exactly. Like, there may be some shows that you can kind of dive in wherever, but this one does relatively follow a linear storyline, so please watch it from the beginning.
I did try watching Chihayafuru Season 1 when it first started airing, and I couldn't seem to get into it. Maybe I'll give it another shot at some point, but...
Yeah, and I know you're not usually a sports anime person, per se.
There is also that, so...
Yeah. I will say, I think, and again, I kind of said it, there's actually a lot of debate of if Chihayafuru is considered a josei or a sports anime. Some people put it in different places. I think it's definitely a mix, but that also, I think, is what makes it so unique and so appealing, because it has some elements that are typical in sports anime, but it's not so cookie cutter and outside of the box, and like it spends a long time on character development beyond simply just I want to be the best at this sport. So that part is really nice. It's a really good show, and I recommend it. I think you could give it a second try. I would recommend you at least get through like the first 5 episodes, and if you're not invested, then you could probably stop.
Fair enough.
I think it's a beautiful show, and I think you might like it. Alrighty, that means you are up next on the docket. What are you going to be talking to us about?
I am also going to kick off with my number 1 pick, which was Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise.
And another continuing series, too.
Yep. Although this one doesn't exactly require watching the previous Build Divers series, but it does help. The main reason why it helps is because the main character Hirota keeps on having flashbacks to time he spent with this mysterious girl called Eve, who, for some reason or another, is no longer around. And he's it does spend a lot of time showing him basically wandering around, looking at anywhere new that he can find in search of this girl Eve. I have been keeping up with this since it started airing, and am up to date with it. And they're only just sort of starting to really get into it. She's the main reason why you kind of need to watch the original Build Divers, is because it's never really explicitly stated it, but there's a lot of implications that she's similar to a certain character from the previous series, and this is set 2 years after Build Divers, and the implications of that is one of the reasons why I'm super intrigued about her. It's not just Hirota, it's also Kazumi, Mai, and Parvis, who are the new Build Divers team, although spell all caps except for a little I in the Divers. Therefore, it's a different name.
Okay.
As they take on these odd story quests that they haphazardly got dragged into, which seem to be implying that there's more going on than they realize. But yeah, it's each of them having their own different struggles, and because all of these are solo players that just ended up in this team together for this story quest by chance, and it's taking turns to go through each of their struggles and like help them just learn to depend on each other and become better people as a result, and like overcome some of their own shortcomings, not only with the game but also with how they interact with each other, which is something I'm really enjoying. And then there's the whole mech design side of it, and even some of the mech designs that I wasn't too keen on when I first saw them, I've come to really enjoy as I've watched this series. I love the baby Gundam that is Core Gundam, and
the baby Gundam.
He looks like a little tiny baby Gundam, because like he's got a normal sized Gundam head and just slightly squished torso, and then these dinky little arms and legs. And
so it has no neck.
Oh no, it has a normal sized neck as well. And the whole gimmick of it is that it combines with this armor that takes on this airplane ship thing they can ride on like a surfboard. That all comes apart and then forms new armor, so he becomes a proper sized Gundam wearing this armor.
Oh, fun.
But there are still times where he's just running around as this little diddy Gundam.
It's just a giant baby. He's just a baby.
He's just like, not even like super formed. It is just like oddly proportions baby Gundam.
That's so funny. I love it.
Even that one, I when I first saw designs of it, I was like, I don't know. I'm not too sure about this. But actually seeing it in action, it's like, I love the baby Gundam.
Is it your favorite one?
It is my favorite one.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying all the mech designs so far. Even some of the enemy mech designs, and yeah, some of the more over the top designs. Just a lot that I'm really enjoying about this series, in case you didn't realize.
I know, right?
And yeah, just I'm really enjoying the characters. Is it as good as previous entries in the Build franchise? it still doesn't live up to the original Build Fighters.
Okay.
It's a very different tone to even the previous Build Divers series. It's actually a huge different tones to any of the previous series. So whether that puts you off or not, I don't know. But for me, anyway, this swims. If you've enjoyed the Build franchise so far, check it out. There's still a lot to enjoy. Also, Maggie is returning. Is the only returning character from Build Divers so far.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. I feel like you essentially said this at the beginning, but basically, do you recommend people start from Build Fighters, like, and go down that route, or at least the first season of Build Divers before this?
To watch this, I do recommend you at least watch Build Divers.
Okay.
But watching Build Fighters first as a whole, because there's things in Build Divers that kind of, like, even though it kind of implies that it's different universe, different setting, there's something about Build Divers that kind of lends to you having watched Build Fighters first as well. So,
okay.
So technically, Fighters, you can skip try. Divers,
okay.
Then re-rise.
Okay, awesome. That's always, I think, good to know just for the people that it might be their first dip into Gundam. So thank you for that recommendation. And now we move on to Cassie's picks. And I want to say this was also... Actually, I don't know what her number one was. I feel like it was this one, though. So Cassie can totally correct me if I am wrong. Please do. Cassie, send me an email at andychatmail@gmail.com. All right. So let's get in here and talk about Assassin's Pride. Oh, and so actually before I start, in the words of Cassie, because it's beautifully narrated, as she writes, "Oh boy, was this a trip. Like getting onto a ride at a theme park that was very much pretty to look at, but a definite death trap with no safety regulations and poor foundation. Sure, the world looks pretty, and the character designs can be certainly fun, but there is no ground to stand on in terms of story or character motivations. Why is good old Kufa Vampire, our main character by the way, suddenly willing to betray his organization and his livelihood for a girl he just met? Why are they all living in a damn chandelier? Ooh boy. Why is the main character a vampire? All caps lock. Why do they keep tossing around magical words and ideology, but not explaining any of it, a la My Hime, but worse? Why is no one calling this a blatant cross-and ripoff? Because fuck you. This show is garbage, and it is unapologetic about it. This show collapsed not long after getting on the ride, and yet still finds a way to keep going, flying into an abyss no sane person would enjoy. I advise you not try it. Not worth the price of admission, and definitely will cause irreparable brain damage if you give it a try. That being said, my brain rotted out years ago, so I am sticking to it." Basically, this show sinks into the blatant waste of potential it is, and I will be sinking into its stupid Hot Topic filter with it. Can I please, like, get a job just reading spoken word Cassie writing? Because that's, like, the most fulfilling experience I've had in, like, the past year of my life.
That review was a trip in and of itself. That was a roller coaster ride in and of itself.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, Cassie, obviously, we've all known she's a great writer, but just damn, we're getting our fill of it tonight. If you want more of this, if you want Cassie to write you stuff and then have us read it as spoken word, send us an email at gmail.com. So I didn't end up watching this one, Assassin's Pride. I remember watching the trailer when we all watched them together, and it looked really pretty. And as Cassie said, it looked chuny as hell, because the guy, like, has the like, Kirito outfit on, and then he, like, grabs his eye and makes, like, the Chunibyo face. Did you check it out at all, John?
No, I never got around to it in the end.
Okay, yeah. Me either. It's like I feel like I could watch it, but watching it will never give me the same experience as Cassie's review gave me. And I think that's the higher tier experience here. So okay, so basically, yes. Recommended not to do it, but if you feel that your brain rotted out years ago and you love Hot Topic, maybe give it a shot. Apparently there's a sexy white-haired vampire boy in it, so if that's a plus for you, have lots of fun. All right, rounding back over to me. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a show with the longest name that I have ever heard and will probably have to say in my life. So give me a second. Honzuki no Gekokujou Shisho ni naru tame ni wa Shudan wo Erandeiraremasen. Or Ascendance of a Bookworm. Thank you, Crunchyroll, for changing that. Or not changing, localizing it, I suppose. So this show I talked about a bit. This is my optional pick because if you listened back to our picks episode, Cassie gave us a fourth optional one that came down a little lower on our lists because Craig and Lily are not participating this season. Mm-hmm. So this was my fourth pick. And it's a show that straight out the gate I was very excited for because of its premise, which is a young 20-something girl who is in school to be a librarian, gets crushed by a bookcase, and wing, bam, zoom, ends up in another world. So it's not Truck-kun this time, it's Bookshelf-kun. And so she is reborn again into the body of like a frail, maybe like 6-year-old girl named Mine in this underdeveloped fantasy world. And she is actually, I don't even know if I would say it's fantasy. It's just kind of medieval. And it is definitely underdeveloped. She immediately is like, oh, well, if I wanted to be reborn, I wanted to be reborn in a world of books. Where are my books? Guess what? There technically are books, but there are very few because they don't have a printing press, so they have to be made by hand, and only the aristocrats of the society can have them. So many people don't know how to read. Nobody really owns books. She can't get her hands on a book. So she kind of makes it her quest to establish literacy and learning and creating books in this world. And it's definitely bizarrely received from people because she's like a sickly little like 6-year-old girl that's like super smart and is introducing all these like new technologies and like methods and stuff to people. She's very crafty. In like the second episode, I think she ends up making like a kind of what looks like chopsticks to like pin her hair back. She ends up finding a way to make shampoo by hand so that she could wash her hair because these people don't even necessarily like do that. Mm-hmm. She finds out that they do have like a number system. It was really interesting. In the first episode, she's just like, okay, well, they don't have books. They've got to have something like a calendar, right? Do they have something like that? I don't see that. And then like when she goes to the market with her mom, she sees that there are prices for things. So she's like, okay, they do have a numerical system. Do they have like a written language? She's just very perceptive and like looks at things quite differently than your typical isekai protag who's just like, hey, I ran into these tough guys who kicked my ass, but here's this pretty girl who saved me. Like she is really like, I mean, what can you say? She's really like getting aware of her surroundings. She knows what she wants and she's trying to find ways to get it and to improve her life here, which is pretty cool. I can admire that. I can admire a smart and headstrong protagonist. I like the fact that it's a female protagonist. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I think my biggest drawback for this show is its animation, which is done by, I don't even know who it's done by. Aijado, who I have never heard of. Taking a look at their Mal page, they took part in Shumatsu no Izata, but they weren't the main one. Oh god, they took part in Sensitive Pornograph, which is a really graphic yaoi OVA that I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, they have quite a spread of stuff over the years, and there's not really a lot of consistency. And the animation style is just really simplistic, like to the point of just like being really dull. I don't like the color palette. There's barely any expression or movement on the characters, and it just doesn't translate into something that's very enjoyable to watch, unfortunately. It's also very slow-paced, which is fine. Like, I do like slow shows, but, like, when there's nothing really grabbing me, it just kind of ends up feeling like a lot of wasted potential, which makes me really sad to say. So I will say it's definitely worth maybe checking out if you think that the premise would be interesting to you. I do know some people that are able to bypass the lackluster animation and the pace and are still watching it. So definitely give it a shot. I will be syncing this one. I didn't have any drive to watch further out than the first 3 episodes that I did watch. However, there is a light novel and a manga series that obviously this is based on. I've looked at the manga art before and it looks beautiful. And I am going to try to get my hands on the manga because I do think that the story is worth pursuing. I just don't think that the anime is the way that I want to go about it. So there you be. There is that one. I really wanted it to be good, but, you know, things happen. So there it is. But yeah, I'm going to end up checking out the manga because I was like, it's an isekai about a girl who's like doing what I want to do for work, but in a fantasy world.
It does sound like a really interesting premise, so it's a shame that it's been held back by just lackluster animation.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I feel like with the market that's already so saturated on isekai, they're pushing it towards less original ideas because they know it'll make them money. Whereas this one, definitely because of how like niche it is a definite gamble. But it really is unfortunate that it just like couldn't, that it couldn't really shine past that. But the manga is still around, and I will go ahead and try to support that as best I can.
Yeah, if the manga is lives up to your expectations, I'll probably check it out as well too.
Yeah, I will let you know. I've heard pretty great things about it. I think Mandy over at Anime Addicts did a manga minute on it, and she said she really liked it. So I will let you know. But hopefully you will let me know the show that you are talking about next.
Yep. So next I am supposed to be talking about Phantasy Star Online 2 episode Oracle.
You want to tell us about that, John?
So, did you know that there are in fact 2 different Phantasy Star Online 2 anime? I didn't.
No, I did not know that.
One is on Crunchyroll, and one is on Funimation.
Oh.
And I didn't realize I was watching the wrong one until it was way too late to fix it, unfortunately. I did think that the premise sounded very different to what I had read the synopsis of, and yeah, it was very late that I finally checked and then realized my goof. So, the synopsis of the one I was supposed to watch, basically made it out like it was going to be basically a retelling of the actual story of Phantasy Star Online 2. Mm-hmm. And the one I watched is basically high school kids at Sega Academy playing Phantasy Star and learning to make friends through online play, and something about proving to the school that playing games all the time won't affect your studies so that they don't ban the game. I don't know. There was some interesting mix of 2G and CG.
Interesting.
But some of it seemed like, oh, we already have the models from the game, so why not cheat?
Oh no.
Another thing is that looking at the posters of these 2 different series, they both use basically the default male hero appearance, so the two characters
So, I
look
mean-
very similar.
So in your defense, they made it really, really hard to really discern which is which if you didn't know that two of them existed.
Yeah, so here I was like, this doesn't sound like what I was being sold, and sure enough, it wasn't what I was being sold.
Anime streamers lied to you.
So yeah, I will be checking out the series I was supposed to be watching, and I'll probably give updates on Twitter of my feelings of the series I was supposed to be watching. But yeah, this Phantasy Star Online 2, the animation as it appears on Crunchyroll, is not the one I was supposed to watch. The one I was supposed to watch is on Funimation. And,
Okay, so that's where viewers can find it for themselves.
Yeah. This one, it's got some fun things about it. I might watch a bit more, but I do not recommend it. I cannot recommend
Okay.
it.
So it sinks.
It sinks.
Oh shit, you know what we haven't been doing? We haven't said what it sinks into. We've been
Oh,
breaking
no.
the tradition. Oh shit. Here, I'm gonna give you some time because I have to go back and do mine. I'm gonna say, just because she invents shampoo in the early episode, she's gonna sink into a bottle of its homemade shampoo. There we go. That works. Saving ourselves. What in the world does this show sink into?
It sinks into the depths of the cyberverse.
Ooh, I like it.
There we
Into
go.
the cyberverse. Perfect. And then I guess, Cassie basically said, as far as Assassin's Pride, that it sinks into the blatant waste of potential it is. Okay. Again, she is just too good. Too good. Well, yeah, definitely keep us posted if you do check out the current Phantasy Star Online.
Yes.
We may even be able to post your thoughts onto the Annie Chatbox Twitter. So yes, we can.
I did at least
keep an eye
have
out for
time to watch the intro to the new one, and it looks so much better. At least just by the intro, anyway. But yeah,
That's good. That's good. I'm glad it has more potential than the other one. All right. Speaking of more potential, here comes the potential for another amazingly written review that actually isn't even potential. I know it's true. By our dearest Cassie for her other pick, Kabukicho Sherlock. So there was a lot of buzz about this show beforehand that I recall, because I think Craig initially had it as an impression, and then it got slated to a later season in which Cassie was able to pick it up. So let's hear what she has to say. In her words, I initially had a hard time finding this show, half because it was being streamed by Funimation exclusively, and the other half because it was being streamed by Funimation with the stupid localization name Case File number 221 Kabukicho. Why? Just why? It took me almost an hour to find the thing because Funimation is a garbage website that doesn't allow you to search by the Japanese name. Oof.
Ooh.
That's true. I've been burned by that before. That aside, was the show worth the frustration it took even to find it legally? No, not really. The sad thing about Kabukicho Sherlock is that it has a number of funny and interesting ideas, but executes them poorly, often with cross-dressers or homosexual couples taking the brunt of the jokes. Classy. I left the first episode with a bad taste in my mouth simply due to the poor representation of the marginalized groups they tried to give a spotlight to. It's sad, really. It's like they are really trying and then just not sticking the landing in any capacity, which is also quite a shame. The setting is neat, the solve the mystery structure is cool and innovative. They are most definitely referencing actual Sherlock Holmes cases in the ones displayed in the show, and Sherlock Holmes' quirk is that he likes to perform Rakugo while explaining how he solved the crime. Rakugo! Which is fucking awesome. Everybody please go watch Rakugo Shinju. The cast is also wonderful, the music is out of this world, and the opening, despite some cringe in the animation itself, is a fucking bop. I am really disappointed to sink this one, but sadly it is curtain call for the good old detective. It sinks into the splattered angel wings made of blood from episode 1. Oof!
Ooh.
That's kind of brutal. That is kind of brutal. Dang, that's really unfortunate to hear, because from what I had seen of the trailer, it definitely looked like a lot of fun. I love the idea of Sherlock being referenced in anime, and the fact that he does Rakugo, that's so cool. But sometimes I guess there's just cases where, again, this might be kind of a Bookworm situation. There's a lot of really neat things and a lot of potential here, but it just in some ways ends up falling flat.
Yeah.
I'm also really surprised about that note she made about bad representation of marginalized groups.
Yeah.
That's pretty yikes. Come on, anime. Just do a little bit better, please. But noted, I will not be checking out that show, but we may have to watch the opening afterwards, because apparently it's a bop.
Yeah, definitely.
Bop o'clock. Okay. So now I'm going to go back over to me. This transition is always so awkward, no matter what I try. And I'm going to tell you all about an anime based on an awesome chapter of a game that has essentially ruined my life over the past few years. And that is Fate Grand Order, Zettai Majuu Sensen Babylonia. In AD 2016, the foundations of humanity have been incinerated by the Mage King Solomon. Chaldea, a secret mages organization with the mission to preserve humanity's future, foresaw mankind's extinction in 2015. Thus commenced the operation to repair the singularities in history caused by holy grails dispersed across time and space. Operation Grand Order. Using the ray-ship time travel technology, Chaldea's last master, Ritsuka Fujimaru, and his demi-servant, Mash Kyrielite, have traveled and resolved 6 singularities so far. Now they depart for their most dangerous destination yet, a civilization in the Age of Gods, BC 2655 Mesopotamia. Ritsuka and Mash soon discover that demonic beasts roam the land, attacking people and towns. Amidst chaos and terror lies humanity's last defense, Uruk, in a fortress city that acts as the front line for the battle against the beasts. The battlefront is commanded by none other than King Gilgamesh, the king of heroes, who sought aid from heroic spirits and took the role of a mage to protect his city. Along with Gilgamesh and the summoned servants, Ritsuka and Mash must protect Uruk against the magical beast's onslaught and defeat the 3 goddesses alliance, who aims to eradicate humankind. All the while, a greater threat looms over Uruk, preparing for its awakening. Okay, that synopsis definitely wasn't there during our picks episode, and I remember being very haphazard and trying to explain this, so wow, they did a great job with that one. I love the way it was written. GG, whoever wrote that on Mal Rewrite. Great job. And I did feel it's kind of necessary to read, if anyone has not been familiar with Fate Grand Order. It's a mobile gacha game that got localized to North America a few years ago. It's been going on Japan for, I want to say they're like 3 years ahead of us. And it's still going. It's very popular. You summon heroic servants that have shown up in every avenue of the Fate franchise, and also they're making more original heroic servants for the game. Mm-hmm. It ends up, because it's gacha, it's one of those ones where you collect your waifus or husbandos PNG images by spending lots of money that you shouldn't do, but you do it anyway, because you need your husbands and your waifus and your sons and your daughteroos, and oh god, it's a black hole that unfortunately my fiance got me to hop on the bandwagon with, and I've been ruined for years. That being said, the game does have kind of an interesting premise in the fact that it does tackle Holy Grail wars, essentially, in that the main characters travel back to all these different points of time. They meet different heroic spirits and kind of just resolve to bring humanity back to its original past, instead of having it be corrupted by the presence of a grail or heroic servants that shouldn't be there. So it ends up being pretty fun. Each singularity, you kind of wonder who you're going to meet and how the story is going to go. Some characters can end up being pretty endearing. And Mash is your servant that is with you the whole time as the main character, and she is super lovable. She's a good girl. She's a good girl. And this singularity is, I think, my second favorite. I really liked France, which is the second chapter, but this one is really, really good. I would say that this is one of the more dynamic stories, and it is very, dark in some aspects, and it does play on the original Epic of Gilgamesh tale, which of course is one of the greatest pieces of literature known to man, one of the ancient pieces of literature that I really should read. So this one, I'm so excited if they decided to adapt anything for Fate Grand Order that it was this one. There are some like episode 0 OVAs for Fate Grand Order that can be found on either Funimation or Crunchyroll if you do want to familiarize yourself with more of the backstory of the original mobile game. But this show does make an effort to cater to fans of the game, because we're the ones that are giving them all the money. I like to think about how my failed 10 rolls to get 5-star servants is what helps make every frame in the anime go. So, but also they do try to give you some background and do a lot of explanation for people that aren't very familiar. I think, and I've been debating this with my fiance, he thinks that it is pretty easily digestible for people if you haven't played the game. I'm on the fence about it. My only reason why is that the story has a million fucking things going on at once, and it can just feel like everything is done at like a breakneck pace, that they drop story elements to you, and if you have no idea where they're going, I think it can be a little bit overwhelming. However, I definitely think that if this interests you at all, you should definitely check it out, even if just for the Sakuga. This show is gorgeous. I would go ahead and make the argument that since probably the Fate Stay Night, UBW, and now they're doing Heaven's Feel by Ufotable, this is probably the next most beautiful Fate anime that I have ever seen, outside of basically the Ufotable adaptations.
Nice.
It's not done by Ufotable, it's done by Cloverworks, who I just have to acknowledge that, like, they're very good now. I mean, I think they really made their mark clear with Promise Neverland. But even before that, I feel like they had an upwards track record, because I remember them working on Persona 5, and I did not like the way that looked at all. Bunny Girl Senpai, I think, looked okay. It definitely looked like a step up. All of a sudden, they come out with Neverland, and I'm like, holy fuck, this is magnificent. And that's kind of what I really get with this one. I will say that the character designs are extremely well translated from the game, which is tough to do because in the game, a lot of the characters are drawn by different artists. So it's sometimes can be a bit daunting to adapt two characters that are in one story that have different based character designs by completely different artists in the game. But they do a very good job of giving it a unified character art design feel, and one that kind of maintains just the art style of typical other Fate series. So really good for them there. They're beautiful landscaping shots with like really nice flowing camera. The camera motion in this show is insane. The action scenes are just gorgeous. There are times that I'll be out here being like, damn, did you see that shot? Oh my God. The lighting is really good. There's good character expression that really does make some of the quieter moments have a good balance of emotion. Which also, again, even if you're not really sure what's going on, I think that the show gives you a good feel. A good feel of what's going on and an investment in the story. I just think, like, if you really need to know what's going on at every second, it might get on your nerves. But if you're there for some Sakuga and definitely want to just maybe see what's in store, you should totally check it out. I'm going to end up showing John a lot of like clips on Sakuga Boru afterwards because it's hard to explain how beautiful this show is. And one thing I am very happy that they did is in the first episode, we had a lot of booty shots for a lot of the girls. And I was a little bothered by that. I was like, this is fan servicey, but they've definitely cut down on that since the first episode. So thank you. Yeah, I think they just wanted to, I don't know, make the Fate boys like scream or something. Who knows? But they've lessened down on that. And honestly, this series, the Singularity, features Gilgamesh as he got older and he lost his only friend, Enkidu, who, again, this is part of Gilgamesh's actual history in the Epic of Gilgamesh. And this Gilgamesh is, like, actually a good person. He is fighting to protect his kingdom. He is still really haughty and like arrogant, and he's like, you know, like, don't waste my time talking to me, mongrels, like you don't know anything. But like he actually does want wellness for his kingdom and like the people that are around him. He interacts with other people. He's not a villain. And it's really cool. Oh, what's that?
So I was about to say, not the same version of Gilgamesh that we see in Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night then.
Yes. Not at all. Yes. Caster. I mean, in the game, he is a caster instead of an archer, which he is in like Fate Zero and other ones. Caster Gil is best Gil. He's also very attractive. I love him. He is good boy. And I am just very excited to see him, and I really enjoy his character. And then his friendship with Enkidu is also touched upon in this series, and Enkidu is a character that I really, really love, and every time that their glorious face is on screen, I'm just like, oh, look how beautiful you are. So anyway, that being said, as a fan of the series, of the game, obviously, and how I won't shut up about it, I definitely am swimming this one. I'm really enjoying it. My fiance is really enjoying it. And even if you're not a fan of the game, I would recommend giving it a shot, because you might come out of it with something that you enjoy. And if it gets you into the game, I am so sorry. Welcome to hell with the rest of us.
I have been meaning to watch this. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Oh yeah, no worries. For reference, it is on Funimation. Again, that was something that was like hard for us to find, but it is on there, and it will be receiving a dub in later time. So that part is exciting.
Cool. Also, just want to chime in. There's a couple of times that characters throughout the Fate franchise have appeared, like the same servant summoned by different characters, and just for some reason their personality ends up different.
Yep.
But there is like a logical explanation as to why that's the case.
Yeah. Good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
So yeah.
That actually, I would also say, I mean, that is the case with Gilgamesh, because the Gilgamesh that is summoned in Fate Zero is a younger Gilgamesh that was like consumed by greed and hadn't learned a lot of lessons. And this Gilgamesh is like older Gilgamesh near the end of the Tale Epic of Gilgamesh. So his personality is different because it's a different part of him in history. So yeah, that definitely is part of it. And sometimes like you said, it's just a different personality. Sometimes there are alters. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to roll with it, it can be fun. All right. That goes back to you, right?
Yeah, we were given optional series that we could talk about if we wanted to. And my optional series was Keishichou, Tokumu-bu, Tokushu, Kyouaku-han, Taisaku-Shitsu, Dai-Nana-ka, right? Tokunana. That was a very
that was a long one.
I'm just gonna call it Special 7. I've forgotten what the English.
It's something like that,
something
right?
like
It's
that.
like Special Unit 7. Yeah.
Special Investigation Unit Special 7 or something. Basically, it's a buddy cop series involving this Special Investigation Unit, the Special 7, which are they investigate. Or the whole unit was created to investigate things involving the Nines, who want to use the power of dragons that all but disappeared in the past. This is like an alternate version of our world where vampires, dwarves, elves, homunculi, and humans all coexist together. Like, there used to be like a big divide between the races, but now it's all but done with, and everyone's just living happily together. Except for when they're not, because crime still happens.
Whoopsies.
So yeah, it's not really any, like, race divide, it's just, like, kind of typical crimes, but there's this uptick in crimes involving, involved in this group called the Nines, who seek the power of dragons. Magic and stuff. So enter Special 7, who aren't well liked amongst the regular police very well, because as a unit specifically for this one, specifically made for this one particular kind of case. That was supposedly solved ages ago, but the unit was never dissolved in order to continue existing and not lose their jobs. They kind of have to take cases from other units, which don't leave them too happy. But now there's a big surge in incidences involving Nines, although not everyone quite realizes that just yet. And our main character, Nanatsuki, was actually a victim of that previous big case of involved in Nines that was supposed to have been the one that solved it all. But yeah, this is... I wasn't sure what to think about when I first went into this series, but I was actually really surprised by how well animated it is, how intriguing it all is. I happen to, like, just from the random bits of Japanese I know, I did catch that all of the members of Special 7 have a number in their name.
Nice.
Ranging from 0 to 7.
Of course.
Because, Nanatsuki, you got Nana, which is 7.
Yes.
And just like the various members of Special 7, they're really dynamic and really interesting, and I really like Ninja, because she's a little homunculus hacker, and the main character, and she likes to declare that she's a ninja. I can't remember her name, but she's like, "'Cause I'm a ninja."
Cute.
And the main character's like, aren't you clearly a minor? To which she retorts that she's the homunculus, and therefore age doesn't give a shit, because they're fully matured from birth.
So are we going to see her, like, down a shot of whiskey in one episode? I would love that.
I would love to see this really small-looking girl.
I'd love it.
But yeah, there's a vampire samurai in the group.
Oh my god. And I thought Cassie's show was extra.
Some of the characters are very extra, actually. But they all fit this sort of aesthetic. The other pair of the buddy cop duo, whose name I've completely blanked on. Because it's also not written in this synopsis I've got up. He kind of reminds me of Eraserhead in his attitude.
Ooh, fun! Very
and
fun.
a little bit of his design. Not saying he's exactly like Eraserhead. But he acts kind of bored. And he just has this, like... it's not that he's psychic, but he's just got this really brilliant insight that people say that people cannot lie to him, or he can see through lies very easily. And just watching him just like go up to a group of people and goes like, yeah, I know what's up. You did this, therefore this other guy is the criminal because of this reason. And you're like, what the fuck did that come from? But that was cool.
Nice.
And yeah, it's just really well animated, really stylistic, and I have just been really enjoying it, and probably been gushing way too much over it without actually saying anything that makes any sense. But yeah, there's a lot of intrigue. Not a whole lot has been a lot's been happening without really explaining what's going on, but it's leaving breadcrumbs of a clearly a bigger picture going on, and I'm just seeing the tiny corner of it, and that's why I don't know how much I can talk about this series. So, yeah. I'm really enjoying it, and it swims.
Let me go ahead and talk to you about Cassie's pick, Hoshiai no Sora, or Stars Align. In her words, so I know the question that is on everyone's minds. Is the soft tennis anime actually #soft? Yes. And also, absolutely not. It's more complicated than that, and in the best way. Yes, there are a group of boys who get together and learn to work as a team, and you do get a nice sense of unity and compassion growing between them. On the flip side, I need to provide a trigger warning for the very first episode about extreme child abuse, and it doesn't stop there. The point is the show, while sporting a soft and colorful art style and cast, is also very deep and explores emotional and physical wounds that don't stop at one club member. There is a lot to learn, a lot to discover, and a lot to appreciate from this gem of a show. It is one of, if not the best show in its season that I have watched per this recording, and is a very possible contender for my end of the year list if it keeps going at the pace it is. Very rarely do we get truly thoughtful pieces like this one in the current anime climate, and you are doing yourself a disservice by not giving it a chance. Even if you are not a sports fan or a drama fan, I would recommend giving it an episode or two. It may just be the combination you need to find something new for your anime palette. It swims! If you watch any anime from the fall 2019 season that isn't a sequel, it should be this one. Or BEASTARS. I hear that one is pretty rad too. So I really need to watch Hoshiai no Sora. I've heard great things about it from Cassie and from other just friends and just from other AniTubers, the community. I've heard is really loving this show. And it looks really good. And then to hear that there is that kind of really deep connection and seriousness to it is almost just an unexpected extra part of the package. So I really need to watch this one. I think it's going to be sports, but also far beyond sports as far as deep character development. So I need to check this one out. I've heard great things about it. But to segue into something that Cassie has heard is rad, and I could gush about for 500 hours, let me tell y'all about BEASTARS! Okay, so in a world populated by anthropomorphic animals, herbivores and carnivores coexist. For the adolescences of Cherryton Academy, school life is filled with hope, romance, distrust, and uneasiness. The main character is Legoshi, the wolf, a member of the drama club. Despite his menacing appearance, he has a very gentle heart. Throughout most of his life, he has always been an object to be feared and hated by other animals, and he has become quite accustomed to that lifestyle. But following the murder of a classmate, he finds himself becoming more involved with his other peers, who have their own share of insecurities, and finds his school life changing slowly. Oh my god. I am in love with this show. It just, everything about it. I watched the pilot and I was honestly so blown away by how good it was that I immediately watched it over again. I watched it. I went out to my fiance and I was just I really love this. It was good for X, Y, and Z reasons. He said, okay, cool. I went back in the room and I watched it again. and then I like couldn't stop gushing about it and talking to other people who'd seen the first episode. And I couldn't stop listening to the opening song. And then I was super excited when the visuals for the opening came out. And then I watched this immediately every day when an episode was released. It was the show that I just could not get enough of, and like just looked so forward to seeing the next episode. I honestly had to fight back the urge to just read the manga to get more of the story. And the reason that I did that is, A, I'd have to buy the manga because it is translated, at least like the first volume, and I don't have the money right now to be spending money on manga. But also, B, the anime is just so well presented. Right off the bat, I know a lot of people were turned off to find that this is a full CG anime. It's done by Studio Orange, who did Land of the Lustrous. And in that vein, I'm going to tell you that the CG looks incredible. If you're familiar with Land of the Lustrous, this should honestly come as no surprise. Everything that I think shined in Land of the Lustrous is definitely present here. Just like excellent lighting. Very charismatic character movement and expressions, and crazy good camera work to make the show appear very dynamic despite being CG. It's presented in a very immersive way. They also do stuff with some kind of like more experimental artistic techniques. There's a scene where a character is running and goes into a completely dark room, and he closes the door, and then you see this character's outline in like a highlighted bright blue color while everything else is in shadow, so it's just like a lit silhouette. And they just do really cool stuff like that that's just so unexpected and like really beautiful, and just kind of, for me, just made me feel wowed like while I was watching it. They also combine a little bit of traditional animation with the CG, which maybe at first might be a little bit jarring, but then I think it starts to blend really well. And I think in the first episode, I had to get used to it. And primarily, the only thing that I find really noticeable, besides the fact that it is CG, and if you can't stand CG, then you're going to watch it and you know it's like totally CG, is that I think there's a frame rate issue, because in certain still moments, characters move kind of stockily, and like the animation motion just seems kind of jerky, and I think they were trying to appeal to the same frame rate as traditional animation when they shouldn't have been. So sometimes it looks maybe like a little wonky, but it's kind of one of those things where you squint and then you see it. I think that I got very used to this animation style quickly, and now I think it looks amazing. A point that I think should be said about Studio Orange specifically, and why they tend to nail CG, is that they're choosing properties that don't have like really common human settings or human characters. The fact that the characters that they choose are fantastical, whether they be like crystal people or anthropomorphic animals, really works in their favor. I think, to create like a CG world, because that's not, these characters are already strange. I'm not like super skeeved out by seeing a full CG high schooler, for example. So really, really good on them. I love the music. It is awesome. It's so good. A lot of it's very jazzy. The opening is total jazz, and I am in love with it. I've already, like, from the outset of the year, I already decided what my opening of the year is, but like, if there was a contender for me, it would be BEASTARS opening. It's so fucking good. And it's stop motion, which is just so cool. And like, I love the characters. Legoshi, the wolf, is a fabulous protagonist. Haru, our female character, is a character that is very complex and owns her sexuality, which we don't see in like enough female characters ever. And there is so much social commentary. People make the comment that BEASTARS is Zootopia but dark, and it's honestly pretty true. But in really good ways. Like, Zootopia is like, oh no, the carnivores and the herbivores. Oh no, like in in Beastars, you have that, but because carnivores sometimes give in to their desires and will eat meat, as soon as that happens, the herbivores ostracize the carnivores. They make these stereotypes that they're dumb and aggressive, and one day they'll just snap. And it's like some of these people they've been friends with for years, and, you know, they were just talking to the last week, but now they're going to bully them because the stereotypes about carnivores. There is drug use in this show. There is absolutely sexual commentary. It's not just, herbivores versus carnivores. There are, like, the girl who's a rabbit, Haru, gets bullied by other rabbits because she is dating a rabbit who's in a different species that broke up, like, the species couple, and they're endangered. So she's like, how dare you fool around with my boyfriend? We're an endangered species. You're, like, fucking this up. Like, it's so good and leads to so much good discussion. It's so original, and it is, like, you know, I need to see a lot more. But like Cassie said about Stars Align, this show is definitely contender to be on my top anime of the year. It is absolutely my anime of the season. It absolutely swims, and I am just begging you, like, please watch Beastars. There are a lot of reasons that people, I think, have apprehensions to this show, but I think you're really missing out if you're going to let LOL the furry anime ruin you from checking out just what I think is a phenomenal story so far. And I cannot wait to see where it goes. Okay, sorry, gushing over. Oh my god. Oh, I love Beastars so much. But yeah, so that is that, and Cassie gave me that beautiful segue, so I had to honor it. Thank you, Cassie. You're pretty rad. We have to watch each other's rad shows this season. It'll be great. It'll be a great time, and John, you should watch them both too, obviously.
Yeah, you've definitely
You should
sold
check
me
them out.
on Beastars at least. And yeah, I
Hell
kind
yes.
of want to give the what is Stars Align?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of want to give that a try.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we will definitely have to be doing some watching and sharing, and that's awesome. On that note, Beastars is a Netflix jail. They will be bringing it early, like January 2020 though, so you can look forward to it on their platform really soon.
Yay.
Yeah. All right, and what is your last anime of topic to talk about?
My last one to talk about is Mugen no Junin, aka Blade of the Immortal.
That's right. Oh shit. I'm so curious.
That's the reason why I'd saved this one for last. Straight off the bat, I'm going to say it's definitely not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of decapitation, blood, and violence going on, and they also don't shy away from the topics of prostitution and rape either. Never depicting it, but definitely bringing it up as things that have happened to characters in the world, and, you know, historically accurate for the time these things happened back then, still happen. It's being realistic in that case. Realistic with a series where a man cannot die because he has bloodworms or something. Some sort of worm inside him that literally pulls him back together anytime he loses a limb or something.
So tell me this. Did they do the thing where, like, he gets sliced in half and then you see the worm, like, put his arm back on or something like that?
Not quite sliced in half, but he's lost his legs and arms a couple of times in just the 3 episodes I've watched. Okay. And, yeah, he kind of just, like, stuck it back on, and then you had, like, a shot of his wound being, like, healed, quote.
Oh, God. Okay. Is it, like, worse than Dororo in terms of gruesomeness?
I definitely say it is more gruesome than Dororo. Although it doesn't have anyone's, like, face being coming back together, regrowing. Okay. They don't do too many. Admittedly, there was only one shot of his leg, like, being reattached. But then again, there's been a couple of shots of the worms. It sounds weird calling them worms, but they kind of are worm squirmy things. Anywho, but that being said, it is incredibly well animated. And there's like lots of stylistic choices. Like when it first starts up, it's all in like black and white, with the only real color is red. As all the
like Sin City effect.
Yeah, kind of Sin City effect. And like you've got like a really grainy look, like it was an old camera recording this scene to show just like this was a long time ago.
Yes.
And then we get to the modern time where it's full color. And like anime dolly zooms, like the only other time I can remember off the top of my head where we had that was Ghost in the Shell, the original movie. And that's where like it zooms in on the character but zooms out in the background, if that makes sense.
Zooms in on the character. Yes, yeah. I think I know what you mean. Yeah. I'm impressed you knew that cinematic term, dolly zoom. Nice going.
Or it does it in the opposite direction, but yeah, it's used to create like a sense of claustrophobia, generally, and like it's got other effects, but like again, this series uses it in that kind of sense to like give you a sense of unease in this situation that's going on, and they got so much really intriguing use of camera work with anime.
Nice.
And story-wise, just I can tell why this is like one of those titles that keeps on coming up and gets new adaptations. Like there's like a bazillion adaptations of Blade and Mortal, and I've never seen any of them before until now. And
I think I'd heard of the manga before, like from a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And they're really knocking it out of the park, and it is just really drawing me in, and I'm really enjoying it. And just the way that Majin, our Immortal, and Rin, this girl that has kind of ended up in his life, as she seeks her own revenge, against the people that killed her parents. How they've like come to connect and relate to each other, and like come to depend on each other in their own ways. Even if Majin doesn't really, he tries to act all aloof and stuff, but he's clearly got a soft spot for her. Just that connection, seeing it build, just really...
That dynamic, I think, is always really fun.
And
like the very grizzled, revenge-seeking, hardened person, and like the kind of glimmer of innocence a little bit.
Yeah.
Nice.
The fact that she looks like his little sister, who died as a result of his actions, and he says he murdered her, but he actually didn't. But it's still, he blames himself for her death. And it's that kind of thing. And like, he sees a lot of his sister in Rin, which is, you know, a lot of the reason why he has come to like let her into his life in the first place. But yeah, just seeing these two interact as they make their way around Japan, getting attacked by the people that Rin wants revenge against, basically. And yeah, there's been some real gut-punching moments involving this series that like it's really good at getting you to really feel and care about the characters and like really want some characters to die.
Well, and then does that make like the gruesome violence like really pay off in some circumstances?
It makes you want the baddies to die, and the ones that get away, you kind of want them to get away. So it really gets you to sympathize with the characters left, right, and center. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it again, and kind of kicking myself for not checking out a previous version of Blade of the Immortal, but I think, at least so far, this one has really been showing that it's definitely one to watch. So yeah, it swims.
Wonderful. Yeah, I remember seeing just a really short PV for this, and I was like, this looks hella good. But then I saw the longer PV, and I was like, oh, this is gruesome.
Yeah, it does get very gruesome at times. So.
Yeah, I think I am a little bit too much of a wuss for it, but like I've heard amazing things. Just the pedigree I think that comes from it being such a classic and like longly popular series is awesome. And hey, we talked a while back about genres that we wanted to see more of, and one of them was traditional samurai stories.
Indeed.
And I think we're starting to get pampered with that. We had Dororo coming out, we have this, and we had Onihei back in the day. So I am on board for this trend. That is awesome. All right. So now we move on to Cassie, who is going to be telling us about Babylon in her own words. Okay, so when some people hear the words procedural cop show about solving a crime regarding false advertisement, a lot of people will probably fall asleep. I, however, eat that shit up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you should too. Because that is just the foreplay, ladies, gents, and everyone beyond and in between. This show is a definite slow burn to begin with, but very slowly eases that gas pedal, stroking it gently and sensually before slamming it down until Kingdom Come. Holy fuck. Yeah, I really like this show. I cannot say a lot of things that I truly like about it without going into spoilers, but I will give you some buzzwords instead that may pique your interest. Corruption, intriguing and deadly female antagonist, all caps, hell yeah, lies, deceit, and a flood of questions that will only be answered if you stick around. Also, the main character has a mug that says, and I quote, "Keep calm and serve justice." Quality. I highly recommend Babylon. The only negative is it is exclusively being streamed in Amazon Jail, but if you can get past that paywall, already have or are willing to submit yourself to cough other means, it is it is well worth your time. Swim. Hell yeah. This is another one I've heard amazing things about that I just need to buckle down and watch. Like, intriguing, hard-boiled, like, drama and mystery and stuff. Yes, sign me up, please. Babylon.
Oh, speaking of Amazon Hell, that is a downside to Blade and Immortal as well. It is behind the Amazon Prime paywall, so yeah.
Noted. They're taking all these super good shows this season. Like, yeah, that's a huge bummer. It's just something that we're all learning as anime fans to live with, unfortunately. All right, so that actually gets us through our list of impressions. I did want to give you guys a quick recap of shows that we recommended by swimming them. This time, just a reminder, they're not immediately slated for review. They potentially may be down the line if they are chosen as a host choice, but obviously, if you heard what we said here today, we give you our full recommendation for Chihayafuru Season 3. Gundam Build Divers. John, what's the tagline on that one?
Re-Rise.
Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise. Fate Grand Order Absolute Demonic Front Babylonia. Special Investigation Unit Special 7. And Stars Align or Hoshiai no Sora. BEASTARS, Blade of the Immortal, and Babylon. So quite a few. And I like how the last three, which we like all gushed about, are all B titles.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how that worked out, but it certainly did. So definitely go ahead and check those out. John, I do know that Cassie and I mentioned for a couple titles, ones that we thought might end up on our Anime of the Year list. I'm curious if you think that there is maybe a show that you're currently watching that could end up on your Best of the Year list, just from what you've seen so far.
From what I've seen so far, yeah, there's a good chance that certain titles might end up on that list. I also need to go back and check what I've seen that would qualify, in all honesty, because it's been a year.
That's fair. It has been a year indeed. But yeah, it does look like there are some good gems that are out there this season, and we hope that you will check them out. Just before we leave you, so I can try and convince John to watch the first episode of BEASTARS, let me hit you with some social links. If you want to get in touch with us on Twitter, you can do so at twitter.com/AnnieChatbox. You can send us any email or feedback at anniechatmail@gmail.com. If you want to listen to us on a device that you are not listening to us on currently, you have a couple options in iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, Spotify, or YouTube. That is a mouthful. If you'd like to give us some hot cash muns and have the patience of a saint to wait for some Patreon content until we start speeding up next year, you can check us out at our Patreon at patreon.com/AnnieChatbox. Big shout outs, as always, to our wonderful patrons, Sarah, Corpsey, and Carol, Suki, Paul, and Troubleclef. You guys keep the lights on. You're the ones that keep us going. You're a reason for the season, any and every season. We love you so much. And if you can't get enough of cool podcasts by cool people, how about you check out Save Our Progress, hosted by Craig, Zach, Pete, and Paul, who have all been on here any manner of times, and you've probably enjoyed their wonderful, docile tones. You can hear more of them at soundcloud.com/saveourprogress. And I think that just about does it for us. Thank you again for tuning in. This has been episode 134 of the Annie Chat Box. And stay tuned. We look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye-bye-yo. Sayonara.
Bye-bye.
That was the most offensively weeby goodbye I've ever said. Good night, everybody.